What is up, YouTube? It's your boy Alex here from Team Generations, and today we're here with another Megacolony deck profile. I know I feel like I've been doing a lot of Megacolony content as of late, but I think it is actually just like a very interesting clan overall and underloved in a way, so I like kind of doing those like low-key deck profiles. So let's check out Master Beetle and some of the support that it came with out of Clan Collection, Volume 3, I believe this was. Alright, starting off right here with the grade 3s, we are going to start off with Master Beetle himself. So this is Martial Arts Mutant Master Beetle. So his skill is actually pretty interesting overall. When it's good, it is really good. When it's bad, it's kind of bad at the same time. So its skill, act on Van or Rearguard Circle once per turn, counter +1, choose up to 2 of your opponent's rearguards, rest them, and they cannot stand during the next stand phase. If this unit is on Vanguard Circle, this unit also gets the power of those units. So you can make this pretty buffed up overall, make it hard for your opponent to guard, kind of get over some of those numbers, maybe, you know, cheese in a crit or whatever to just win you the game. But its second skill is actually pretty decent. Auto on Vanguard Circle. When this unit attacks, counter +1, discard a card from your hands, and this unit gets an extra drive until the end of battle for every 3 of yours and your opponent's rested rearguards. So, you know, again, a double-sided sword, right? A double-edged sword right here. If your opponent has somehow wiped their board like Gold Paladin, like Night Rose kind of does, you know, things of that nature, you know, you could be in a bad spot in that they don't have any rear guards on board. At the same time too, they could go really wide and just like have a bunch of units spammed on board, because when you think of it, if they don't have any units, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can only have pretty much an extra 1 drive check, because 3 of your units will be rested at this point. If they have at least 1 other unit on board, that means you could potentially have another 2 drive checks, but if you have just that 1, you're just really washing a card from your hands. Not that great. The pressure that you're probably getting isn't really there too, because this doesn't have an extra crit or anything like that. You're just getting the extra power for anything you rested, and again, if you don't have anything to rest, you're just not getting the power. So it's nice that it does work on Rearguard Circle. Could make it like a really big stun board on your opponent if you want, in culmination with another grade 3 we're about to go over in just a second. So you know, this deck is really supposed to be centered around Master Beetle. If you want this Giraffa deck profile, I definitely have one on the channel. I'll link it down in the description below. Check that out as well. It's definitely built a little bit differently overall, but that being said, I'm still including 2 of Giraffa in here. So Giraffa is actually a really good Vanguard in general. Kind of creates this pressure that Megacolony is kind of lacking throughout. So its auto skill on Vanguard Circle, when this unit attacks a Vanguard, you get to counter +1, put a rearguard into your soul, and your opponent chooses 2 cards from their hand, calls them to Rearguard Circle as rest, and then those units cannot stand during the stand phase. Your opponent cannot activate auto abilities from those calls, so you're ripping cards from hands, kind of like a Nubatama Premium in a way, or Nubatama in general, I think, Daihosen and whatnot. Its second skill continues on Vanguard Circle. During your turn, this unit gets 5k each for every card name with Giraffa in its soul, so it could be up to plus 15k. And then this guy also, if you have 2 or more in there and your opponent is on grade 3, gains an extra crit. So again, pressure, that's nice. Again, ripping cards from your opponent's hand, making them rest, just making them waste cards in a sense, is actually pretty strong. And we see that with decks like Amon now and things of that nature. Like that is actually a pretty strong kind of mechanic overall. I think it's a little bit slept on or underloved, as I like to call it. So I think this still has a place in this deck. And again, this is really a Master Beetle deck. I kind of built it that way. If you want that Giraffa deck profile, I do have that. So go check that out if you think that's the more viable of the 2 to kind of be running. Next up over here too, kind of like a staple, I feel like in almost every Megacolony deck now, this is going to be 2 Pincer, Attack, Mutant, Intrude Scissors. So Intrude Scissors is kind of interesting. I feel like I do want to be running it out a little bit more, but space is kind of limited in this deck. And when you do see it, it could be good, you know. I don't know, it's hard to describe. Like, I do sometimes wish I saw more. Sometimes it's like, oh, it doesn't really matter. But this guy's skill on drop zone auto, at the end of battle that your grade 3 Vanguard, grade 3 or greater Vanguard attacked, if a new card was put into your opponent's damage zone, you get to counter +1 and call this card to Rearguard Circle. So essentially, you'd put this in, you know, just have it in your drop zone somehow, some way. You can get, you know, your Vanguard sucks it in, something soul blasted out, whatever the case is, you can kind of get like a multi-attack out of this. And then when placed, auto on Rearguard Circle, soul blast 1, choose a card, one of your rearguards, stand it, and this unit gets an additional 10k until the end of turn. So you could stand something else in the front row, you could choose to stand something else in the back row, and if you want, there's actually a really interesting like Gredora play that I kind of like to do with this. I have that profile as well in my channel. I'm sorry, I'm like linking all of my Megacolony decks, but this card is really just like a bread and butter card in Megacolony, and giving yourself the option to have that multi-attack in a deck that doesn't naturally do so is actually very, very good. So I like this card at 2 of. Could bump it to 3 if you want to cut something in here. You could totally do that, but from my playtesting, I've kind of kept it at this. I've modified this list like maybe like 5 times at this point, so I've kind of just settled at this point. Yeah, I don't think it's too bad overall. This guy up next over here, such a good card. Like, I'm really glad we got something this strong. This is going to be Elite Mutant Giraffa. So Giraffa is really good in like any kind of build, and this is kind of like a quasi Giraffa period deck. You can really think of this as like a Giraffa core with like Master Beetle support. You can up Giraffa by 1, dump Master Beetle by 1, you know, just trying to shift the whole dynamic of it. But it's skill auto on Vanguard or Rearguard Circle. Once per turn, when this unit attacks, we get the Counterblast 1. This unit gets 5k until the end of turn for each of your opponent's rested rearguards, so it could get actually really big. And if your opponent has 1 or less rested rearguards, we draw a card. So again, good as a ride target, good as a rearguard, pretty much does everything we want to. I will say the Counterblast is a little bit heavy because our Master Beetle uses essentially 2 Counterblasts to get off its main skill overall throughout the turn, so it's still worth running. It's still like an amazing ride target. I think this card is just really, really good. It needs to be included in many different Megacolony builds now, so most builds will kind of include this if you're not doing machining. Its second skill continues on Rearguard Circle. All of your opponent's rearguards in the same column as this unit cannot intercept and cannot move to other Rearguard Circle. So if your opponent tries to rush you down a little bit earlier, you know, they call grade 1s to the front, pop this guy down on Rearguard actually, and we do have another Vanguard ride target. You know, make this so that like they can't move those grade 1s and kind of stalls them out. It could actually create like a sticky situation for your opponent that they're not expecting. So I do like this card a lot. 4 of is the definite ratio for myself, and that's why I'm including it as such. Let's move right along. Whoops, sorry if I bumped the mic and you heard that. We are going to be moving on to another card. This did get reprinted over here. It's used to be a promo, so I'm pretty excited about that. But this is Vulgar Mutant Stamping Red. So this is actually, you know, quasi like Gredora support, but it doesn't need Gredora to really work and really utilize some of that annoying stun bug kind of mechanic in this deck. So this auto on when this unit is placed on Van or Rearguard Circle, Counterblast 1, choose one of your opponent's rearguards without a cradle marker, put a cradle marker on it, and if I did not choose, I draw a card. So again, card draw is always really big. I feel like every Megacolony deck more or less has like that like grade 2 ride target, draw a card somehow. And again, in a deck that relies so much on like annoying your opponent, making them like pretty much useless, being able to just like generically put a cradle marker on something is actually really good. Like, this doesn't need to be in Gredora for it to be good. And its second skill continues on Van or Rearguard Circle during your turn. If your opponent has a rearguard with a cradle marker, this guy gets an additional 6k, so it makes it a 15k base. Getting over some annoying numbers, just making the boost a little bit easier. So like, you're boosted by like a grade 1, you know, that has like 13k, you can make this a 28k really easily. So even if they hit a trigger on a force number, you know, more than a 5k to guard kind of deal. So that number is important in a couple different ways, and I really like that it does kind of do that for itself. So very self-reliant card, and it is a well-designed card overall. Next up over here, I flipped around with this quite a bit. I used some other cards for a while, but in the end, I think I needed something kind of costless, and this guy kind of took the slot. I think this got reprinted recently too, but this is going to be Spear Attack Mutant Megalancer. Megalancer, I don't know how to say it. Anyway, auto on Rearguard Circle. When this unit attacks a Vanguard, this guy gets an additional 2k until the end of the battle for each of your opponent's rested rearguards. Then cost to put a rearguard into your soul, and your opponent cannot intercept until the end of turn. So the intercepting, not so huge, but at the same time, just becoming a little bit bigger because of your opponent's rested rearguards. And again, your Mega Beetle is going to do that, your Giraffa is going to do that. You're at least going to get another 4k from this, hopefully. So not too bad, hitting that at least 13k base number. Getting over some of those force things, at least threatening a hit. So I don't think it's too bad. I think, again, being costless is nice. Just helps with ride consistency being there overall, because otherwise we'd be running just like 8 grade 2s, which is kind of annoying sometimes. So I think this card is decent. I don't think it's like absolutely necessary. You could kind of replace it with a few other things, but at the end of the day, I really started to see that like so much of my costs were really coming from my Vanguard. I didn't really have too much room elsewhere in the deck to kind of use like a lot of Counter Blast or Soul Blast. So yeah, moving right along into the grade 1s now, we are going to be talking about 4 of Mutant Gentleman High Class Moth. So I'm sorry if, you know, this whole profile is pretty budget up to this point. I know this card goes for quite a bit now. I think it's like $4 or $5, something like that. So this might be like 1/3 of the whole budget in one, but this is such a good card. Again, so necessary for Megacolony. So if you don't have a playset of this, you're looking to maybe invest in the clan, I think this is a decent purchase overall. Continues in deck or soul. This guy is regarded as a grade 3, and that's important for a couple reasons. We'll go on, we'll talk about that later. But act on Rearguard Circle, rest this unit, put a normal unit from your drop zone into the bottom of your deck, and then counter charge 1. Choose one of your opponent's rearguards, and that unit cannot intercept until the end of turn. This ability may only be used with the card of the same name once per turn. So again, you know, like I've been saying this whole profile, a lot of things you use counterblasts, and we really need a countercharger. This guy is countercharge on demand. This is not at the end of the turn. This is not, you know, when you do XYZ. It's just boom, rest this, put something into your soul, or the bottom of the deck, and then boom, get that countercharge off. So, and that could make or break the game. It really could. Like, at times you really need to have a countercharge on demand. I think this is the premier candidate. I will be showing you a card that if you don't have this, you could possibly swap it out to make it a little bit more budget, but I'm definitely recommending 4 of those. The next card up over here is going to be a grade 1. This is actually another Giraffa card. Again, this is kind of like a quasi Giraffa deck. This is going to be Pupa Mutant Giraffa. So, auto, when this unit is placed on Vanguard Circle, discard a normal unit from your hand, and then search your deck for up to 1 card with Giraffa in its card name as the same grade as the card you discarded for this cost. Reveal it, put it into your hand, and then shuffle your deck. Its second skill cost, this cost is reduced by Soul Blast 1 for each of your opponent's rested rearguards in the same column as this unit. When this unit is placed to Rearguard Circle, Soul Blast 2 and draw a card. So again, a lot of these grade 3s kind of put units rested on the board. So as such, this guy's cost should only really be like Soul Blast 1 at most. Soul Blast 1 to draw a card is like always great in my opinion. Soul Blast 2, a little heavy, but at times it could definitely save you. But at the same time too, the first skill is very important because this can fix your ride chain. If you want to go into Master Beetle a little bit later, and you know, you go into Giraffa first, let's say, and your opponent realizes, hey, this is a Giraffa deck, they're just going to rip things from my hand, might as well call them anyway. Boom, you go into Master Beetle after that, like, it's absolutely fine. So getting your ride chain going early is actually really decent, and this can help to discard that Pincer Mutant from your hand, have it in your drop zone. This could also just help you fuel if you need that counterblast cost. This could help you fuel that high class moth we just went over. So a lot of different synergies, and I think this is just better, straight up better than the grade 3 searcher, the regular one, because you could get grade 2 that you need to fix your ride chain as well. So if you need it, it is there. If you want to swap that out for the grade 3 ride chain, the grade 3 searcher, you could totally do that as well. Totally up to you. I'm just finding more luck with that one. Next up over here, this is probably like one of the best Megacolony cards we've ever gotten, period, premium, V, anything. Absolutely insane. This card needs to be purchased. If you are a Megacolony fan and have not picked up like 3-4 playsets of this, do it now before it becomes like a $5-6 card. This is insane. So this is Brilliant Blaster. So its skill auto in the back row rearguard circle at the end of turn. When your opponent does not have any standing rearguards, you may return this card to your hand. If you return it to your hand and your hand is 6 or less cards, Soul Blast 1 and draw a card. Good for early rush, good for getting stuff back in your hand, absolutely broken. Its second skill, when this unit is placed on Guardian Circle, if your opponent's Vanguard is rested, Soul Blast 1, discard a card from your hand, and then choose one of your opponent's rearguards rested, and that unit cannot stand this turn. That is so crazy. So all these decks that the Vanguard swings first, you just kind of shut off one of their big attacks. There's some Force decks that honestly just do 3 attacks. Same thing with Protect decks. Like, you are just shutting off one of their big attacks, and like that really is like such a detriment to their game plan. Even in premium, let's say, I know we're not talking about premium here, but you know, shutting off Nightmare Dolls with one of the little grade 1s or something can really make or break the game. So this card is so necessary. Pick up, like I said, multiple copies. You heard it here first. This is gonna turn into like a $6-7 card, like easily. So yeah, definitely pick these up. This is an amazing card. Next up here, kind of going into some tech areas in general. I'm running one of this card. You can swap out the high class moth for this card if you don't really have the funds, maybe, or you know, you're just not willing to pay $5-6 for a high class moth. This is Small Captain Butterfly Officer. Auto on rearguard circle. When placed, rest this unit, choose up to one of your other rearguards, and it gets 10k until the end of turn. And then if you choose at the end of your turn, put that unit into your soul and counter charge 1. So really decent because you can countercharge. Gives yourself like an extra 10k somewhere. So if you're planning on using Pincer Mutant and giving restanding a rear guard or whatever, just restanding something with an extra 10k makes a huge difference. So I like this card and keeping it at 1. Might bump this to 2, to be honest. I've really kind of, I think, concluded my playtesting with this deck, but I really do like this. I think we need more than just that 4 countercharge in general. Next up here too, this is not an overly defensive deck by any means outside of that grade 1. So this guy over here, Area Stiller, does do some wonders for us. So if we ride high class moth, that's where this really comes in earlier. Act on rearguard circle once per turn. If there's a marker on any player's circle, we get to Soul Blast 1 grade 3, get an imaginary gift protect. So instead of just riding, getting 1 protect, boom, you get another protect. 9 times out of 10, we're always going protect 1 in this deck unless they have something that kind of, shits them out from our hand or just destroys them, whatever the case is. But I actually think this card is decent. I do like this in most of my Megacolony decks. If you watch other profiles, I definitely do include this. So I think it's definitely like an interesting tech, and I think it is decent added to up there. You can kind of swap that around, play with the ratio. Some of those tech guys are like definitely interchangeable. And then lastly, we got the best starter. This is going to be Youthful Mutant Dorcas. And then next up over here, getting right into the triggers. Let me just pan out for this. Starting right off, this really should be 4, but I actually don't mind the 4th one being a 20k shield. This is going to be 4 heals, but 3 heal guardians, 1 regular heal. I kind of don't mind this ratio because I feel like this deck does make it to the late game most times, and then when you do, it's like you do want that shield value being up, and we don't mind taking a lot of damage early just because we have extra drive checks. We have a better choice, a better chance to really heal out than some other decks. Also on top of that, we use a ton of counter blasts, so taking that damage 9 times, you know, like a lot of times is not the worst thing in the world. You know, if we're getting closed out, like I get it, like yeah, definitely use more heal guardians. I feel like it's more of a meta call at that point, but at the time, I think that, you know, even 2 regular heal guardians to the regular heals, to the regular heal guardians, like I think that works fine. Next up over here too, we do have some draws. I'm running 2 regular draws, 1 of the perfect guards. The reason being, obviously big things still do exist in this game, like Valkyrion's a thing, MLB is still around, like there's like weird things that just like create these huge columns, and I know Luard kind of got shut off a little bit, and Gavriel, things of that nature, but at the same time too, there's things that just get absolutely huge, so at least 1 perfect guard is definitely necessary. And then this deck actually shreds a lot from our hand, so I'm actually choosing to run 3 of the crit sentinels. I know these did get reprinted, so definitely cheaper now, which is nice. I think just 1 card to guard from hand is really necessary at times. Like you won't have like so much in hand for what was it, Master Beetle's skill. So with that being said, I think these are actually pretty decent, and you do have protect markers that you are getting perhaps like at least 2 per turn with that grade 1, that little tech in there. So other than that, I'm running 6 regular crits, so high pressure, high crit kind of deck in general. I don't think you really need as many draws as possible. We dig through the deck for a lot, we get what we need in a way. I think that this lineup is solid. Again, totally changes to whatever you want. I feel like triggers are always the most like up in the air kind of thing, because when you hit a trigger, like there's rarely a trigger that's bad. So whatever really suits your playstyle, go for it. I just feel like we are ditching a lot from our hand, and as such, those crit sentinels definitely come in clutch. Cool, so let's hop into a test stand and then we'll get started yeah, I'll just show you how the deck kind of plays out. Alright, so let's get shuffling over here and get started. Let's put our starter right there. Alright, cool. So overall, I'm having like a ton of fun with the V format. I've taken so many different, I take like a different deck to locals like every single week. Super excited about Narukami. I think that Dungaree is actually really, really good. I think that, what was it? Just so many different, there's so many viable options in V right now. And, you know, I'm so happy and grateful that like my locals runs like premium, overdress, like V, like everything. So I kind of get a taste of everything. We have some really good players too. I appreciate some guys who come from like all the way out east. You know, it's like an hour away from us. They're excellent players. I really enjoy playing against them. You know, we get some random people from, even from like Queens and stuff. If you're familiar with the Long Island kind of landscape, it's our store, Gotham City, is kind of like right in the middle, and then the rest of the island is kind of spaced out. But really good location, we have really good locals, everyone's really friendly. I think it's just super awesome time, and I'm glad that we kind of do all formats. All right, so let's go 1 2 3 4 5. Let's go 1 2. You know, it's a little early in the game yet. I think I'm gonna put these back in deck. I don't need 2 of these. No, I don't. I really don't. So I'm gonna put 4 of those back right there. Let's draw 1 2 3 4. Just a heads up too, I know these, you could pretty much see through these sleeves. If this was a tournament, I would not be using these sleeves. You know, this is not legal. You could see Vanguard written right through them. So I know that, please don't flame me in the comments. This is just, you know, like a fun deck. All right, cool. So we did get some decent cards overall. I think we can work with this. Let's do it. Let us do it. Let's shuffle back up over here and get started. And I feel like this is more or less, you know, like a Giraffa plus deck. I know, even though we're running like tons of Mega Beetle. So, all right, let's stand and draw. All right, so we got 2 of those. Let's ride into our guy. Let's draw for our turn. We're gonna pretend we go first so we don't get the quick shield there. And I am actually, you know what? Let's do it. Let's discard this guy. Let's say we discard him over here, and let's go search our deck for the grade 3 Giraffa. That way we at least have like a decent ride target. And you know what? Let me just show you. If I was gonna go 1 2 3 4 5, yeah, if I was gonna do a regular top 5 searcher, I could have just pulled him off the top 5. But at the same time too, I feel like that guarantee of a ride is just so important, and it's good to get that pincer mutant in your drop early. So I do just kind of like this guy. Gives a little bit more utility, I feel like, in the early game as opposed to the late game. So not too bad. Let's get that. All right, passing it over to our opponent. Let's take a damage for their turn. Boom. All right, so I get 1. Dang, the 1 card in my deck of her. All right, let's stand and draw for our turn now. Let's pretend we didn't get any crits off of that. You know what? I think I am actually going to, it doesn't really matter which one we go for. I think I want to stun them a little bit later, and I want to Giraffa in my soul, so let's call him down. They don't have any standing rear guards. We're going to counterblast one and just draw another card. All right, let's go, and do I want to rush him down early? Nah, I think I'm going to hold. All right, so let's just swing. There we are. Drive check. Boom. Nothing. That's okay. We're going to pass it over to our opponent. Let's take 1 damage. All right, so we do get a heal here. You know what? Let's just say we healed out. This is up to us now. Since we hit the trigger, I'm going to see what I can do with just 1 counterblast. I really want to see what a turn like that would look like at this moment. So let's say that trigger kind of shut them off. Stand and draw. All right, if I didn't hit a trigger there, I probably would have taken another damage, just, said it is what it is. But let's ride into the grade 3 Giraffa. Let's add a protect marker to our hand. I'm going to pretend I have that. We are then going to do 2 things. We're going to call down here. We're going to counterblast 1. Let's say we do put, let's say we don't, put a marker on something. We do draw a card. Boom, I drew this card over here. We are next up going to call down, this is going to be really weird. What do I want to do? Because I need a normal card from drop, right? Do I have a normal card? Yeah, I do have a normal card from drop. So I'm going to call this, rest this. I'm going to add her back to the bottom of my deck and countercharge 1, just so my Giraffa is live when it attacks a Vanguard. I am also going to just call this. Yeah, I'm just going to call this down. We're not going to make the most insane turn here, but we do have 2 Giraffas in our soul. Our opponent's not on grade 3, so it is what it is at the moment, but we are going to swing. We are going to counterblast 1, get those 2 units down from our opponent's hand, call them to rearguard circle, they can't stand. We are also going to get an additional 10k, so this is going to be 22k. Let's do twin drive, first check, crit power, let's say, second check, okay. And nothing has a cradle marker on it, so we don't get the 6k here, but we are going to swing 9k, see if it hits. If not, this is another 19k. And then anything that is in the same row can't intercept or whatever. So let's pass it on, take 1 damage, boom. Let's take 2 damage here, 2, power draw. All right, let's drop some shield. Let's go 1. Let's go 2. Yeah, that's fine. All right, let's stand and draw. And it kind of sucks. Again, we don't this is why you need that grade 1. I feel like, because if you didn't draw or get into at least the Giraffa, your turns would have been terrible at this point. Master Beetle is good, but at the same time too, I feel like Giraffa's support is just so flushed out that it's really hard to not rock with that. So I don't really want to do a full other turn, kind of showing you the same exact thing, but at the same time, Master Beetle comes down, what would we really do? Let's just search for it, pretend we got it at some point. So we get Master Beetle down. You CB2, we have the CB2 open over here. We can then use one of these other guys. This is an axe skill when this unit attacks. Actually, no, we couldn't do that there, but overall, it comes down to do you want to sit on Giraffa and have that pressure? Because that turn it would have gone live with the 2 crit, because your opponent is on a grade 3. At the same time too, Master Beetle, if they're going really wide, is a good play, just because you could get really powerful and get a lot of drive checks off. So this other weird inherent kind of pressure. So thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know any changes you would make. I'm always interested to see the Megacolony kind of lists. I'm testing a ton of other lists right now, so I know I have a Negrobone one coming. I definitely want to just test that a little bit more. I still have my Raptors military dragon coming as well, so stay tuned. Again, if you guys haven't already, just hit that subscribe button. Almost at 1,000 subs now. I really cannot believe it. Thank you guys so much. This is Alex from Team Generations. Again, if any questions, let me know. Signing out.